Hi everyone, this is Anne, and sorry I've been not posting my scary Saturdays, but I decided to do more scary and mysterious videos. They're not gonna be just on Saturday, but I'm just going to post them whenever. It can be multiple times a week even. So today I want to talk about the missing 411 cases. These are very mysterious disappearances around the same areas. So David Pauly, who has more than 20 years in federal law enforcement, he is the one that wrote multiple books about this, and he investigated these very strange disappearances. He has analyzed missing persons cases across North America. And he found some really weird stuff. Listen to this. So he kind of started looking at the bigger picture, the bigger puzzle, and he collected 2,000 cases that have very similar and mysterious characteristics in common. What they have in common is that they happen around the same areas, in national parks and around bodies of water. When people are found alive, they can't say what happened, they have memory loss. When people are found dead, it's in places people couldn't have gone on foot, and some just go missing, never to be found again. And this is often in areas where there is no dangerous wildlife, and when bodies are found, they aren't mauled, or often the cause of death can't be determined by coroners, which is very, very odd. Also, another characteristic is that when someone has gone missing, after that there will be a lot of bad weather and rain to wash off any evidence, for example footsteps in the mud or things like that, or that makes it impossible to do a search until the weather clears. And often these people are found without clothing or missing their shoes, just wearing their socks. Then the other odd thing is that rescue dogs often can't find a trail, even when he later went further and looked into local areas with the same characteristics, and even there the search dogs couldn't find a trail, or they couldn't find a scent, and they showed weird behavior, like they would walk and then they would circle and they would just sit down. So in this video I'm going to talk about some of these mysterious cases to kind of give you an idea of how odd these disappearances are. First, people who are found alive. One woman who was found alive was an ER physician. So she had gone running in the mountains. Often it's runners and stuff like that. So she was gone for 3 days, and so they did a search, and then she was found 3 days later. So then they found her eventually wandering on a trail that they had previously already searched, and she can't remember anything. Then there was another 2-year-old, Keith Parkins was his name, and he went missing near his home in Ritter. So he ran around the barn, never to be seen again. And then he was found 19 hours later, laying face down, unconscious on a froze-over pond. Can't remember anything. And 15 miles away. Then there's cases of people who are found dead in places that they already searched before and searched thoroughly. For example, a little boy's body was found over a tree trunk on a trail, over a fallen tree trunk. And this was on the trail where researchers has been passing, going on it for days to do the search. And then suddenly the body was there, someone placed it there. There's also often physicians that go missing, often very smart people. One was a father and his daughter. They went for a climb and then they just disappeared. So he was one of the best physicians, so they threw in all resources to try and find him. So they did that with helicopters and stuff like that. And on the 7th day, they found their bodies on the same route which they took with a helicopter to do the search every single day, where they had already looked. So they thought maybe they fell, but they didn't see how they could both fall from something there, and they didn't see any signs on their body that they would have fell. So that was really odd as well. Then there's also a lot of people who just go missing forever. There's Moritz Dametz. He went missing in Pike National Forest in Colorado. His remains never found. So he was there with another of his friends. He was older and he had this gear with him, and he went to an area. He was also there with a friend. They both did kind of excavation or something like that. Anyway, he was doing something on the floor with his tools. He was there. His friend went a little bit further, only like 40 meters, 45 meters, like still close by. After 15 minutes, he went back to check on him. He was gone. So was it to his tool bag.
So we're about 50 yards down the western bank along Rampart Range Road at Virgin Baths. And this is going to be the approximate location where David McSweeney set up Doc Domitz to look for topaz. And this is what the pits look like that they work in. They're not very large. And when they look for quartz and the smoky quartz and the topaz, check on him at 3:25 p.m. He was fine. He walked back another 50 yards. He came back 15 minutes later. Domitz was gone.
No trails, nothing. Rescue dogs couldn't pick up a scent, not anything. And he was just so close by, and then just poof, gone. No trail, no disruption of anything on the floor. Like there's some people who say maybe there are berries or something, or that make people hallucinate and they wander off. Well, you would find a trail of scent, you would find ruffling maybe on the floor, footsteps going somewhere, and then the other people there should also have it, because often it's people who go with a group and then one like disappears. If it would be all of them, if it would be a plant or something that makes him hallucinate, and of course more people would have it in that group, not just one person. And also that man had bad knees, so he really couldn't walk very far on his own. Then a girl gone missing on a field trip together with others. She kept looking off the trail, walked off the trail into the woods, never to be seen again. Then there was Shane Montgomery, a 21-year-old graduate. He walked to a bar and suddenly relatives couldn't find him anymore. He had to go to a family thing. He first went to the bar and he was escorted out of the bar together with others, and then there's just no trace of him anymore. And then the FBI had arrived later on, and people can't really explain why they arrived, because normally it's only when a crime was involved, even though they never said there was a crime, but still they were there to investigate.
There was a whole series of cases in the Great Smoky Mountains where this one FBI agent, his name was Jim Reich, was arriving on the scene. This is in the late 60s, early 70s, and nobody could figure out why Reich was there. His explanation was, I'm monitoring the case, I'm not investigating the case. In every missing person case in the Smoky Mountains, he was showing up at. Well, my partner from San Jose for 2 years left the police department and became an FBI agent, and then later became an FBI agent in one of the biggest regions in the country, and he was a special agent in charge. And I called him one day when I was doing this, I says, why are these agents showing up on these missing persons cases? He goes, good question, Dave, I don't even know. He says, you know that FBI investigator, Jim Reich? I said, yeah. And he goes, do you know what happened to him? I said, no. And he goes, do you know he committed suicide right before he retired?
This guy who researched all these cases also extended then his research into more urban areas, and there he found similar cases of people drowning in ponds and water, because there was this one man also, an elderly man. He was disabled. He was put outside every day by his caregiver on the porch. So she did that day, and then she heard thunder and lightning. She went outside to check, and he was gone. His carrier device or whatever was still there, but he was gone, missing, never to be found. And it's often also hunters who go missing and never to be seen again. One hunter, he went everywhere with his dogs, even to the toilet. The dogs would always be with him, and he went missing, and they found his van with the dogs locked inside, and his wife was like, no, he would never do that. So they went to look, and on a lake further, they found his clothing on a rock. So they thought, okay, he must be in the lake. Why would he remove his clothing? It's kind of weird. So they did a whole search of the lake. It was very easy to search because it was a flat bottom. They did with certain sonar equipment, I think it was, or something, to really scan the lake fully. couldn't find him, he wasn't there. Another hunter for 25 years, he taught safety. He was a veteran, so he was out hunting with friends and relatives, and he was kind of an older man, so his friends, like, he would be in one location, he had a shotgun or a rifle or something like that. Yeah, I think it was a shotgun, and a walkie-talkie, and his friends were going to go a little bit further and then like kind of lure the deer towards him so he could have a last kill or something like that. They went there and then he was gone. He had a walkie-talkie, a shotgun, nothing, all was gone. How the fuck? And then there's people found dead in places they couldn't have gone themselves. In 1957, 2-year-old David Allen Scott went missing. This was in the Twin Lake area of the Sierra Nevada mountains. So his father saw him, he went into his camper momentarily, he came out, he was gone. So the area didn't have much coverage, visibility was very good, but searchers couldn't find the boy until 3 days later. He was found in a very unlikely position or location. So after going up on one side of a nearby mountain and then up another one, that's where they found the boy, dead.
No way. Here's where his parents were staying. His body's over this. There's a switchback trail here, over and then up and down. So we talked about distances. A 5-year-old climbed 2,580 feet. 2-year-old climbed 3,000 feet. A 7-year-old climbed 3,500 feet. A 3-year-old was found 1,250 feet. 3 years old, 1,400 feet. Just an example of the illogical elevations that a parent would say, my kid wouldn't do that.
And this little boy was 2 years old, he could barely walk across a parking lot. Then another person was a really great physicist. He put his garbage cans outside and then something must have happened because he was gone. So he lives in a really great neighborhood without crimes and the locals think something extraordinary must have happened to him. So why would they say that something extraordinary would have happened to him? Then they found him in a river with his lab coat on and his ID. Why would he be wearing that? Like at the time where he was home and putting out the garbage and stuff, why would he be wearing that? And in January when he went missing, the ice was 4 feet thick. There was no tracks in the snow, dogs couldn't pick up a scent, the door wasn't locked and his wallet was left behind. So then there was another physician who was with another group of physicians. They were doing a hike, so they were walking. He was an avid walker, they got tired and they wanted to rest a bit. He was like, I'll walk on a bit and I'll see you soon at the next stop. And then they went to the next stop. He wasn't there. He thought maybe he is at the next stop. Nope, he was gone. And they searched for him and then they eventually found him in a location very far away, which he wouldn't have walked himself. Why would he? Also the location where it was, people said no one would end up there. Like it was really weird. It was across mountain ranges 60 miles away. That's almost 10 kilometers. And this was in the middle of winter and he wasn't wearing boots, only socks. Like his boots were gone. So as I said before, this researcher expanded his research to rural areas where he found similar patterns, similar disappearances. People who were in one moment somewhere and then another moment somewhere completely like far or further away. This also involves a lot of young men who are at bars or a party and then they go missing and end up somewhere else dead. So they walk, like they exit a bar and they walk down the street where cameras pick them up, but at the point where they disappear, cameras can't pick it up. And they are later found in water, dead. Some say maybe they were intoxicated and fell in the water, but this happens so much. And why does it happen to then homeless people? Because it's never like the homeless or like mentally ill people, it's often like physicians and these young men. It's kind of weird. And also dogs couldn't track them. They tried from the bar and everywhere and they couldn't find the trail anywhere. Also normally a body in water will show certain signs and the coroner or whatever can say this body has been in water for 14 days for example, and often found that the bodies had been in water only 3 days while they were gone missing already for 14 days. which means they must have been placed there. Also, coroners often can't say the cause of death, and coroners are specialists, like they're smart, they know what to look for, and they just can't find the cause of their death. So there was an athlete who often went running. His name was Shelly Brinson. He was found 1,500 feet away in a golf course pond, and there was no cause of death. No shoes on, and his socks were clean. And the weird thing is that they found his shirt in 1 yard further of someone else, then in another yard they found his shoes, then eventually they found him in that pond, and they couldn't determine his cause of death. Like, how does that happen? Like, he wouldn't just go there, oh, take off my shirt, oh, take off my shoes, oh, let's fucking go in this pond and die. Not drowning, but just die. Couldn't, because his feet were clean. So what, did someone carry an unconscious body, take off his shoes, drop it in 1 yard, crawl over a fence with him, in another yard, another fence? You would have superhuman strength to do that shit. Because also his socks were clean, so he didn't walk anywhere on dirt or on grass or whatever. Weird. Oh yeah, and then also in another yard, his belt. What? And after that, like in many of the cases, bad weather happens and it rained for days. Another 21-year-old was in the Royal Canadian Military Academy. So he was in a dorm studying with his girlfriend. She got sleepy and she laid herself on a bed to take a little nap. She woke up and he was gone. His wallet was still there, his cell phone was still there, he was just gone. Later he had practice and he didn't show up at practice, and he was a very, very punctual person, so she knew something was wrong. Then they went searching, and 10 days later his body was found in a river. Again, the coroner can't determine the cause of death. The parents can't believe it, they get another coroner to investigate it, again can't find the cause of death. And again, his body had not been in the water as long as he has been missing. Then there was a science teacher from Ontario. So every morning he went running, every single day. And one morning he just didn't come home. So there was a huge search again, and then months later they found his body washed up on shore. So initially the lake was frozen and they searched it and they couldn't find him. Because at the time as he was running, it was really cold. He ran in all kinds of weather, and you know, the lake was frozen. But then they found the body encased in ice when it was washed ashore. But the thing is that the water at that time wasn't frozen over. So why was it encased in ice? Within 2 weeks also, when the body was found, they found his shoes on the shore as well. So no one can explain how that body was encased in ice. And he also never went running in the location that he was found. So very weird. I know there's like a lot more cases, you can look at way more videos online if you want. And often there's this connection with the water where people are found always in bodies of water, a lake, a river, a golf course, pond. So there's also been more recently the Manchester canal deaths. It's dozens of bodies of mostly men who are found dead in canals in Manchester over the past several years, and they think that it's a serial killer. But for a lot of these missing cases, it's like so far spread, happens so much, no traces, anything at all. It's very, very bizarre. So there's of course these theories going around. As I said, some people think it's alien abductions where they get abducted and then that's why the bodies can be completely gone, no trace, and then somewhere else right after. Then there's just people who will say it's a serial killer, but that's also unexplainable how they could do that. Often when there's a lot of other people around or within shouting distance, and just very strange. Others were like, oh, maybe it's these hallucinogenic plants that make you hallucinate, but that's not really, like, you can't really believe that when there's often groups nearby or friends or relatives who don't get the effects of the plant then, and still there is no trace. Like if you start hallucinating, there would still be a trace of you going berserk around the forest or something like that, like traces, whatever. Some say maybe we are in some kind of simulation, like that these missing people are program glitches instead of normally dying via a heart attack or some other program demise. The program glitches and the person disappears from the program without the clues such as tracks or other details. That's what someone else thinks. And then sometimes maybe the program glitches and accidentally brings them back in weird places, such as on top of a mountain or 15 miles away. So this was my scary video of the day. Real stories, real thing that's happened, very freaky. So stay safe out there and I will see you next time. Bye!